Ruth had always carried the world on her shoulders. As a single black mother in her early 30s, every day felt like a battle she had to fight alone. Between double shifts at the diner and overdue bills stacked like bricks around her life, she somehow managed to give her daughter, Judith, the one thing money couldn't buy: love. Judith was just 14, but she shone brighter than anyone Ruth had ever known. Intelligent, curious, and full of dreams too big for their small apartment, she believed that one day she could change the world. While Ruth rushed around in the mornings, packing lunches with trembling hands, Judith would sit at the kitchen table, spooning cereal into her mouth while reading her science books. "Mom," she said one morning, eyes lit with wonder, "did you know Saturn could float in water?" Ruth paused, exhausted but smiling. She knelt, pressed a kiss to her daughter's forehead, and whispered, "Baby girl, you're going to change the world." And she believed it. At school, Judith's brilliance couldn't be contained. Her teachers praised her, her classmates admired her, and her best friend Joy never missed a chance to remind her of how special she was. One afternoon, after a presentation on space exploration that left the class cheering, Joy leaned over and whispered, "You're going to be famous one day, Judith." Judith smiled, shaking her head gently.
"No, Joy.
"We're going to be." Those words, so full of hope, hung in the air like a promise. But promises can be fragile. It started with a cough. At first, Ruth thought it was nothing, just a seasonal cold. But the cough grew worse, deeper, until it left Judith struggling for breath at night. When the doctors finally delivered the diagnosis, Ruth's heart broke. The treatment was possible, but the cost was staggering, far beyond what a waitress's salary could ever cover. Ruth tried everything. Extra shifts, loans, even skipping meals just to save a little more. But no matter how hard she fought, the mountain of medical bills only grew taller. And yet, Judith, frail, pale, her body weakening, never stopped dreaming. Late one night, Ruth walked into Judith's room and found her hunched over her laptop, typing slowly with trembling hands. "Judith, baby, you need to rest," Ruth pleaded, folding laundry nearby. But Judith shook her head.
"Mom, I can't."
"There's this essay contest. The prize is $200,000. If I win, we can pay for the treatment." Tears filled Ruth's eyes. She wanted to stop her, to close the laptop and tuck her daughter into bed. But the determination in Judith's eyes was unshakable. So Ruth sat in silence, watching her child pour the last of her strength into words that carried her hope of survival. The weeks that followed were cruel. Judith's condition worsened. Her laughter faded into whispers, her energy into silence. One rainy night in the hospital, as the monitors beeped steadily, Judith held her mother's hand with all the strength she had left. "Promise me you'll keep going, Mom," she whispered. Ruth shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "Don't say that. You're going to make it. You have to." But Judith only smiled faintly, as if she already knew. And with one final breath, her little hand slipped from her mother's. Ruth's world shattered. Days later, the apartment was silent. Bills still lay scattered across the table. Judith's school bag sat in the corner, untouched. Ruth sat on the couch, hollow, her eyes empty. A knock broke the silence. Principal Williams stood at the door, an envelope in his hand. His expression was heavy. "Ruth, the results just came in," he said softly. "Judith, she won." Ruth's hands shook as she tore open the letter. Tears blurred her vision as the words confirmed it. Judith's essay had taken first place. The prize, $200,000. The very money Judith had hoped would save her life. Ruth pressed the letter to her chest, then reached for a framed photo of Judith on the shelf. Clutching it tightly, she broke down, sobbing for what had come too late. Time passed. The grief never truly left, but something began to shift. One evening, Joy came to Ruth's apartment, holding a plate of food in her small hands. She was nervous, unsure, but Ruth pulled her into a hug before she could speak. "You're family now," Ruth whispered. "You're all I have left." On the wall above them hung Judith's framed essay, her final legacy. Months later, under the orange glow of a setting sun, Ruth and Joy stood side by side at the cemetery. Flowers rested on Judith's grave, the words etched into the stone, "A star among us." Ruth bent down, brushed her fingers over the name, and whispered, "You'll always shine, Judith. Always." She stood, wrapped her arm around Joy, and together they walked away, two souls bound by love, loss, and the memory of a girl who had dreamed of the stars. Behind them, the sun sank slowly into the horizon. Ahead of them, the world waited,